Welcome back to The Walk and Talk, the dog obsessed podcast you can plug in and play whilst you're out adventuring with your dog, so that whilst they're having an amazing time rolling in things, catching up on their emails, you can also delight in a little educational journey through one topic or another designed to help make your dog ownership journey easier, more enjoyable, and more successful for the both of you. And this week, I want to take an idea that I know you're very likely familiar with already. If you've got a very young puppy, you've probably been warned by at least one person about the impending horrors to come. Or if you have a middle-aged dog or they're older, you've literally been through the trenches already. Except I want to flip this on its head for you. And I want you not to be worried or stressed out about it. No, we're not about that kind of drama here today. Instead, I want you to get excited. What about? Well, let me tell you, your dog's adolescence. Has she gone mad? Maybe. We'll see by the time we get to this episode if I can change your mind about whether this is a hideous thing you need to be terrified about or whether it's actually something entirely different. Now, I say that because you've no doubt been introduced to the dreaded teenage dog narrative in one way or another before, right? Teenage dogs are in league with the devil, apparently. They're a total nightmare. They're impossible to live with. Trying to train them is utterly pointless because they're going through a hideous phase and you're just wasting your time. Well, today I want to spend some time calling that story out a little bit, and I would love to show you why I think it's time to really shift that narrative. So, if your dog is aged anywhere between 6 months or 5, 6 months and 2 years ish, if you're in that messy middle ground between the sweet little puppy that you brought home and that lovely, well behaved adult that everyone else seems to own, then this one is most certainly for you. Because, and don't come at me for saying this, just bear with me, okay? What if I told you that this time, right now, might actually just be the best time to train your dog? Because even though you've actually already signed up to 6 different wine subscriptions at this point and you are absolutely tearing your hair out, your distracted, hyper, emotionally explosive, cue ignoring little whirlwind is actually standing at a golden crossroads. They are not a write-off. And they are by no means a lost cause. And I think it's time to consider canine adolescence as not just something we need to survive, but something we can really lean into. Because hopefully, over the next 25 minutes or so, I'm going to explain why adolescence is actually a training sweet spot, not a horror show. And if you're still with me, we're going to look at what's really going on in your dog's brain, what makes this stage uniquely powerful, and how you can take advantage of it to create an adult dog that you are truly proud of. So let's start with what I call the just survive it myth, right? Just grin and get through it. It's carnage. Because it's incredibly common for owners to treat adolescence like the Bermuda Triangle of dog ownership. Everything your dog used to know is completely gone. All that training you put in puppyhood, totally forgotten. All the good behaviours you nurtured at the beginning, completely out the window. So what the hell do? We throw our hands up in the air and we say, well, he's just being a teenager. We literally say it like it's a punchline, like, there's no point trying. Like, the best thing we can do is just hang on and wait until they grow out of it. But here's the problem with that mindset. It totally disempowers you as an owner. It says you've lost control. There's nothing you can do about it. It treats this wild, energetic, curious phase as something that you can only survive rather than something to shape. And most tragically of all, it makes you miss a golden opportunity because your adolescent dog isn't broken. They're not actually regressing, they're growing. Their brain is completely under construction, yes, but that doesn't mean it's closed for business. In fact, it's actually the opposite. This is a phase of development when the brain is most plastic, meaning your dog is really open to forming new habits, new associations, and new patterns. You just need to know how to work with it. Because the truth is, if you switch things up and you invest now, if you stick with the training, even when it feels like they've totally forgotten everything, you can come out the other side, not just with a dog who is slightly less of a menace, but with a dog who is deeply connected to you, one who trusts you, listens to you, and thrives in your company. Adolescence ultimately is a training window. And if you're out there staring down at a teenage dog whilst listening to this right now, that window is wide open to you in this moment. So, what is it that makes adolescence such a powerful time to train? Firstly, and this one is a bit of a gimme here, stamina, right? Puppies are cute, but let's be honest, their attention span is about as long as a sneeze, isn't it? They are adorable little sponges, but they tire really quickly. They actually get overstimulated ridiculously easily, and they need loads of naps between really short bursts of learning. But teenagers, completely different kettle of fish. They have got energy. And yes, sometimes it's directed at completely the wrong thing, like counter surfing or barking at pigeons or digging holes in your garden. But energy ultimately is still good news. It means they can handle longer training sessions. They can cope with more repetitions. You can start to build stamina into your cues, and that is a huge win in itself. Another perk is real life reward motivation, because as your dog grows up, their basic reward system changes. Okay. Essentially, young puppies, 9 times out of 10, they're very basic bitches, right? And they just live for food and attention. They're wired for it. It's just a survival mechanism. But adolescent dogs, as they get older, begin to value things like freedom, play, choice, movement. And this opens up a whole new world of rewards that you can tap into. Maybe your dog finds a game of chase the best thing in the world right now. Great. Use it. Build it into your recall. Make your training more functional and tied to their real world desires. This teenage stage really lets you work with what is meaningful to them right now. And that's incredibly powerful if you put it to work for you. Now, there's also their problem solving ability. So, puppies are still figuring out how the world works, but adolescent dogs are really starting to learn through consequence. They try things out, they test things, they learn what gets them what they want, and they bank that learning. And this means you can start to use more advanced training approaches like shaping, where your dog offers behaviors and gets rewarded for approximations. You can introduce more complicated cues. You can make training more like a game, and they'll actually be up for it. And finally, and perhaps most importantly, this is a key moment for relationship building, because adolescence is when your dog biologically starts to test your bond. And if you want to know more about how that looks and why they're doing it, go back and listen to episode 1 of this podcast. But essentially, they pull away a bit. They seek independence. They look outward to the world rather than obsessing over you. It's kind of the same thing human teenagers do, right? But this isn't something to fear. This is just something to understand, because if you know your dog is testing the strength of your bond, you can meet that test with generosity, fun, positive connection. And ultimately, if you know you're being tested and you've prepped for the test, you're going to pass with flying colours, right? Because this is actually your chance to double down on your relationship building. So think hand feeding, enrichment based play, training that really prioritizes your dog's success, making them feel good, sharing safe, low stress outings together, being engaging during those outings, and really valuing each other's company. And if you want to take a more structured approach, my 21-day engagement training program is literally perfect for teenage dogs. It's no coincidence that I've created and released this course when my own dog is 19 months old, right? I am living with one of these teenage dogs right now. And if you want to see him and how incredibly he's doing, He's the little white dog on my socials. I have 2 dogs. I have an older Labrador cross. She's nearly 13. And Albie, who is a little teenage critter who has already taken over as my main demo dog when it comes to 99% of all my filming and my educational stuff, because I know how magical adolescence can be if you do the right things at the right time. Okay, so hopefully I've convinced you that adolescence is worth leaning into. So, if I have your interest piqued, let's run with it and take a close look at what's actually going on under the bonnet with our teenage dogs and talk a little brain science for a sec. So, your adolescent dog's brain is basically undergoing 3 massive transformations right now, and understanding what those are and what's going on will help you train more effectively. So the first is synaptic pruning, because as puppies, our little baby dogs grow millions of neural connections. They're like little spongy learning machines, absorbing every sound, every smell, every movement, and all the consequences of everything going on around them. But that huge explosion of neural growth just isn't sustainable. So when adolescence hits, their brain starts pruning the connections that it doesn't use. It's like spring cleaning. The brain says, oh, look at this. We haven't used this one in ages. Let's just chuck it out. So, what does this actually mean for you and for your training? It means that if you taught your puppy something at 12 weeks old and then you just didn't revisit it again, that learning might not stick. You have to reinforce the behaviors you want to keep. Pause and absorb that for a sec, right? You have to reinforce the behaviors you want to keep. You have to keep them fresh. Otherwise, your dog's brain might literally delete them. Okay. Second is increased independence and risk taking. So, the prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain that handles impulse control and decision making, this bit is still developing. But the amygdala, the emotional and reactive part, Captain Panic, I like to call it, this part is absolutely firing on all cylinders. So, this means you have at the moment got a dog who is impulsive, emotionally reactive, curious, and wired to test boundaries. And if you do have a teenage dog right now, I know this is probably sounding familiar to you, right? But they're not really being naughty. They're not trying to push your buttons. Their brain right now is just built to go out there and seek new experiences and assess the risk. And your job is to provide structure for them, consistent boundaries, and meaningful choices. Let them sniff, but have them on a long line. Let them make decisions, but make sure there are those limits there to keep them safe. Let them learn through experience, but take it upon yourself to make sure those experiences they're choosing are safe and they add value. Okay, the third of these transformations is the dopamine spike. So, adolescents produce more dopamine than puppies or adult dogs. And dopamine is the neurochemical responsible for pleasure, novelty, motivation, and reinforcement. So, your dog is essentially desperate for rewarding experiences. This is why they suddenly start finding the outside world more exciting than you. But again, this isn't all bad news, because if you know this, you can actually flip the problem on its head and give them that novelty and excitement that they are craving now more than ever, but give them it through you. So train in new ways, add in some variety, use super high value rewards. Build training that keeps them guessing a little bit, keep things new, make you yourself the most interesting thing in the environment. And again, if you don't know how, I've totally got you covered with my engagement training course. I will leave the link in the show notes if you want to go and take a look at what that's all about. So that's essentially a really quick whistle stop tour of the sciencey bit. But how can we really take all of this insight and turn it into practical action? What are we going to do when this podcast is finished? So let's run through some of the most powerful ways to train smarter during adolescence. First of all, upgrade your rewards. If your dog is ignoring the kibble, it's not because they're stubborn, it's because their brain is just hungry for dopamine. Use fresh meat, cheese, toys, chase games, exciting stuff, whatever lights them up. Make the reward worth their attention. Second, reduce distractions temporarily, okay? Don't expect a teenager to ace training in a chaotic park if they can't already ace it in your living room. That's not cheating, that's just smart. Start where they can succeed and grow slowly out from there. Third, train more frequently in shorter bursts. Adolescent dogs do really well with little mini sessions, 5 minutes here, 5 minutes there. Train, while you're waiting for the kettle to boil for a cup of tea. Train during the ad break of whatever it is you're binging on TV. Don't wait for big gaps between sessions. Just keep them really short, but keep them frequent and keep them fun. Fourth, focus on bonding activities, things like long, sniffy walks together, gentle playtime together, massage, enrichment games, even just literally relaxed time, chilling out together on the sofa watching TV. Bonding is training. Connection is still training. It all goes in the bank, okay? Fifth, you have to expect pushback to some extent, but stay consistent anyway. Truthfully, it's not going to be all sunshine and roses. You will get some selective hearing. You might get some behaviour you haven't seen before that you don't like. But that doesn't mean your dog has gone backwards. It means their brain is reorganizing right now. You just need to stay the course and be consistent with your rules and the rewards you're offering. And finally, just make sure training is fun. Make sure there's a level of unpredictability with your rewards that you bring out, because variety truly keeps your teenage dog's brain engaged. New tricks, different reward styles, surprise games, these things fire up dopamine and they build learning. So, to wrap up then, what have we learned about our delightful, dramatic diva teenage dogs? Well, they're definitely not being difficult on purpose. Their brain is literally rewiring itself. And that means you have an unprecedented opportunity to design your dog's adult behavior right now. The training you put in during adolescence really does pay back tenfold. This is your chance to create a dog who is attentive, emotionally balanced, motivated, and truly bonded to you, not in spite of their teenage phase, but because of how you worked through it. So stay consistent, reinforce the habits you want to keep. Don't use adolescence as an excuse to let go of your standards. Use it actually as a reason to really double down. And please remember, you're not failing if you need to reduce distractions, or if you're still using loads of treats, or if you're going right back to basics. That's not regression, that's just strategy. So I really hope this episode overall has helped shift your thinking around adolescence. If it's made you look at your teenage dog with a little more curiosity, a little more optimism, and a lot more compassion, then my work here is done. If you have enjoyed this episode, if even one sentence of it gave you a little light bulb moment, I'd be so grateful if you could leave me a review wherever you're listening. It's free, it's quick, and it makes a huge difference to creators like me trying to deliver free, empowering content to dog owners around the world. And if you're still out on your walk right now, snap a photo of the view or of your dog and tag me at Listen Dog Training on Instagram. I absolutely love seeing who's walking, who's listening, or you can even slide into my DMs and let me know what resonated. I would love to know what you're finding helpful, what you'd like to hear about in future episodes. It really helps me to make sure that I'm being helpful and useful and all of the good things. So yeah, without further ado, I shall leave you to enjoy the rest of your walk or whatever you're up to in peace. But thank you so much for joining me, and I will see you same time next week for another episode of The Walk and Talk.